Okay, the first thing we're going to do is spatchcock this chicken or butterfly it. I've cooked chicken many ways, and I find this is the most uniform, best way to cook a chicken. So that's what we're going to do here today. So you saw me remove the fat. First thing I'm going to do is remove the fat. Second thing we're going to do is open up the chicken. So if you don't have these, get these. These are chicken shears. And you'll see why. These just cut right through the chicken, super easy. Use a knife, cut this, save this for stock, put that over there. So now what we want to do is we want to flatten out this chicken. And to do so, you have this bone here called the keel bone. So all you're going to do is make a little slit right here. And see, look at that. And I like to leave a little bit in here because the breast kind of protects the breast. If you just kind of do that, take this and bend it backwards. There. I'm leaving this because I think it protects the smaller part of the breast and it cooks even. You can remove it if you want. That's what I do. The other thing we're going to do is just get rid of some of this fat. So there's a little bit of fat here. Another thing we're going to do is we're going to open this up so that we can put some rub in there. Get under the skin, get the flavor into the chicken. The other thing I do is I just give this a little break. If you ever notice that's like the last place of the chicken that cooks, so just give that a little break. And now that's going to let the juices come out. One thing that I like to do is I open up the skin like this. And I pop this guy out like that. Do the same thing over here. You want to be careful not to tear the skin. Okay? And that way I can get rub on there too. Now, that's it. We're ready to go. First thing I'm going to do is put some rub, and I use a wet rub because it just works better here under the skin. So this is a cup of rub I make, 1/4 cup. Pour it in here. This is olive oil. And we're just going to make a wet rub to where it looks about like that. Okay. And we're just going to put it all over here, back side here. And then just close her up. Now we want to get into the breast. Rub some under there. This is actually a little too thick, so I'm going to wet it down just a little bit. Another place we can get lots of flavor is this opened up area and under here. So I'm going to do this. And now the rest is just for decoration. Okay. And we're gonna let this guy sit out for about an hour. Half hour to an hour is safe from the cooking books I've read. It's got the salt on it. You'll let it get out to room temperature, then you put on the grill. That actually really helps make a moist chicken. And that is our rub chicken. One other thing I thought I would cover is in California, probably about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, Tang was pretty popular. A lot of the guys were putting Tang on their chicken. We were doing chicken thighs, but whatever. It was kind of funny because the judges were saying, oh, everything's starting to taste like Tang. So everybody's kind of weaned away from it, but you know what? If you're not familiar with it, it's pretty good because it's citrus and it has a nice flavor. The problem is it's sugar, and so I find that it burns at the top. So what I do is I flip it over, and remember, we open this up so we more exposure. And all you have to do is just kind of sprinkle this real lightly. You don't need too much of it. Okay, now see, this is at the bottom, so it's not going to burn. I can still get a little bit of hint of this, but not too much. You flip her back over, and then if you want to do a little bit of presentation, you might want to put a little dry rub on top, give a little texture. One thing to note is if you have a lot of sugar in your rub, it's going to burn. This is mostly salt-based, so I'm not worried about that. I know this. But that gives a little bit better presentation. And that's about it. Okay, it's been about 45 minutes. We got our barbecue up to temp. So what we did was we got the chicken ready. And while the chicken was out, getting it up to room temperature with the rub on it, I got the Q started. We're close to 300 degrees. I cooked this chicken anywhere from like 250 to 325. Again, it depends on your cooker. And it depends on how much sugar you have. Because the last thing you want to do is burn your chicken. And for you who have not seen the Primo, this is an indirect fire pit. So we got fire on one side, no fire on this side, indirect. I'm going to throw a piece of wood in here. This is apricot. And it's not that much. This is just like one ring. And so I'll take a look to see what the chicken looks like. And if it has the right amount of smoke, appearance-wise, then I'm just not gonna add any more. If not, I'll add it. By the way, I put this on a red cutting board. I do that so that's for dirty or uncooked meats, and then I have a white one, and it's just for when it's, see, this is going here. We'll close this. And so I use a white one for cutting up the chicken, and that way I don't mix them up and I don't do any cross-contamination. So good tip if you haven't done it before, just a way to be safe. Okay, that wood has been on for about 5 minutes, and I just kind of wanted to show you what the smoke looks like coming out. It's kind of hard to see, but if you look really hard against the background, you can see the smoke. And it's very light, and that's what I'm looking for. You don't want some big old smokestack coming out of the top. You just want a nice whisper of smoke, especially with chicken, right? So this is really the perfect amount of smoke for chicken. And so I just kind of wanted to show you that. Okay, it's been about 40 minutes now, and we're gonna check the chicken. I just took a look at it. I'm sitting at 300 degrees, and it could use a little more smoke, so I put that other piece of wood on. But you do not have to do this, but if you want to go the extra mile, I make a chicken injection. And what this is, it's 50% butter and chicken stock with about 2 teaspoons of rub. And what this is going to do is add flavor and moisture to the breast. And it is very important to use a really fine strainer like this, because if you get this stuff stuck in your injector, it's a pain. So see how fine that is? So this is our injection. Now this is a little over a quarter cup. You'll see we're not getting much here. Okay, a little over a tablespoon. This is a pretty small injector. So just get the air out of it. And I like this one because it has 2 little holes, so kind of like that. And why I'm doing this in the middle of the cook, because otherwise it will just kind of squeeze out. So now we're sitting at about 315, and just, you can see the color we're getting. Coming to the breast, we're at like 106. And we'll come into the thigh, hit the bone, back off, 131. Okay, I'm gonna be quick because I don't want to leave this open too much. I'm just gonna come in here in the breast, all the way in, squeeze it. You can kind of see it plumping up. Use about half of it. Same thing over here, plumping up. Done. And we're looking for 150, 155 in the breast. Remember, when you take it off the barbecue, it has carryover heat. And we'll check it in a little bit. Okay, we're about an hour and 15 minutes. Let's see what we got. As you can see, the chicken looks really good. Check right here in the breast. We're at 146, 154, 150, 155. So we're about 5 degrees off. That's fine. Now, before, when I said I hit the bone's hotter, so you pull it off a little bit. And we're like 180, 181, 183. So that's good. This is the reason I like to do butterflied chicken, is because you can see we've got a nice spread between the two. And we'll let that guy rest for 10 minutes and we'll cut it up. And so how I cut this is I just split it down the center. You can kind of see that keel bone right there. I'll just show you real quick how to trim it. Take the wing off. This guy you gotta kind of cut in. Here's your leg. And if you look right here, there's a place you can cut. I'm not doing well here. There. And that guy's cut in half. And then for presentation, I like to cut this down to the rib bones. And that is the wishbone. Right there. Okay. So now, here's half the chicken. Here's the breast. And for presentation, what I like to do is remove this bone just by cutting like that. And leave the skin on, and I use a slicing knife. It's much sharper. And just cut through like that. And then you can plate that if you want. This just gives you an idea. Oops. How soft that is, how moist that is. And so that was pulled off at 150. And then your dark meat right here. You see a little bit of smoke, moisture, and that's it. That's how you cook a butterfly / spatchcocked chicken.